The ODAC slate is getting into crunch time, really close to the postseason as the Averett Cougars step foot into Turner Gymnasium. And very excited that you are joining us. Evan Gates alongside my good friend Kevin Nestor. Lots of changes in this gym, Kevin. We've got a new scores table down on the court. Obviously, it feels like it's that time of year where every single game matters, but just a different festive feel. And then Code Red Day coming up for the men's team.
Yeah, coming in here, it looks a lot different. Scores table, production stats. Hopefully the viewers at home see a lot of different things that they enjoy. We will ask them to bear with us if there's any difficulties. I'm sure we're going to run into some of that, but we do. You mentioned this is going to be a big game. A lot at stake still for these two teams. This is going to be a really big matchup tonight as we get later into ODAC play here in the season.
Well, two teams obviously both have struggled in the month of January, just 3 combined wins, and still looking to really get their foot in the right direction. Obviously, Averett right now last in the conference. Lynchburg sits in 10th, but certainly a schedule that will allow them to try and crawl back into that top 8 for the ODAC tournament.
Yeah, they got some winnable games playing teams that are ranked lower than them in the conference. That 8-9 spot right now currently occupied by Randolph and Hollins. Randolph got to play the top 3 schools in the conference coming up. That's going to be a tough test for them. This last spot is up for grabs.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the pregame stats. This is an Averett team that has really struggled with ball handling throughout the season. Turnovers has been one of the biggest points of emphasis for Coach Desiree Driver. They're averaging over 24 turnovers per game, whereas this Lynchburg team really just hasn't shot the 3 ball to their standards this season. Not pictured in this graphic, but shooting the 3 ball at 28%. It feels like they're still in a good spot, but they've also got a rebound, and Lynchburg really needs to hustle early.
Yeah, you mentioned Averett. That stat with turnovers, that's 18th worst in the nation. So that's something that they've been trying to clean up all season. They haven't quite gotten it together yet, but it's going to be interesting to see in this matchup if they can kind of figure it out. For Lynchburg, you mentioned it, their game plan in a lot of these games has been to rely on the 3, and it's just not been falling. Here at home in an important matchup, it's going to be interesting to see if the game plan changes or if they can start to knock down some of those shots.
Lynchburg losers of 6 straight. They're trying to change the picture in this one against the Averett Cougars, and obviously it feels like one more loss could really hurt those chances of getting into the ODAC tournament. Lynchburg takes on Averett and National Girls and Women in Sports Day. We're so excited you're joining us for all the festivities on LHSN. We'll be back after the anthem for starters and players to watch.
Think a private education is too expensive? Think again. At the University of Lynchburg, you can get a personalized education for the cost of a state school. If you're commuting and you get our top scholarships, you could pay much less. And you get all that without the hassle of giant lecture halls. Our faculty know your name here and do more than just teach. You might even do research together and plan out your next career moves.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
Football has taught me a lot throughout my life. It's definitely had a huge.
Welcome back in Turner Gymnasium. Evan and Kevin rocking with you on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Let's go ahead and take a look at our players to watch, starting with the Cougars' D.D. Jiggets. She is one of the premier freshmen in the conference, 3rd in scoring with 15.5 points per game, and then also leading the conference in steals. This is an Averett squad that loves to rough things up defensively, and Jiggets is a big reason why, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's the only player on this Cougars team in double figures, doing it 15.5 points per game, as you mentioned. But the 67 steals, that stands out to me. We talked about the turnovers at the top of the broadcast, but she has been doing her best to kind of equalize that margin a little bit with her steals per game. She also leads the team in rebounds and turnovers as a point guard. Turnovers, they want to clean up. We talked about that, but the rebounding as a point guard is something that you don't see a lot, especially here in the ODAC with all of the talent that there is. But she's been getting it done for the Cougars.
Definitely a bright spot for this Cougar squad that has just 3 wins this season. When you look at the Lynchburg lineup, Bree Spainhour was someone that certainly needed to get going. She had a cold spell midway through this ODAC slate. She had 3 straight games scoring in single figures going into that Roanoke contest. In her last 2 games, she scored 24 and 13. You see her line from the Guilford game, so you understand she has to be big down low against an Averett squad that maybe hasn't seen players like Spainhour, who is not only a great big, but can also stretch the floor.
Yeah, we talk about category leaders. She leads this Lynchburg team in almost everything, but it's her presence on both ends of the floor. The blocks, the rebounds on defense, the scoring on offense, getting teammates involved, cuts, passing, scoring. She really does it all.
A lot to consider as we get started at the center circle. Averett in the navy and Lynchburg in the home whites as the Cougars corral. Jiggets will get the offense up and rolling, and here we go. Averett trying to find win number 4 of the season. Lynchburg trying to get back into that conference picture. Immediately trying to cut to the hoop. This time it goes to Jaya Brown. Few steps outside, not finding the motion she wants. Outside to Jones. Shot clock down to 6. Not a lot of options as defense is strong from Spainhour. Jiggets looks for the mid-range, off the mark, and Littlejohn corrals the rebound. Kaysen wide open on the other side. Immediately see Bree Spainhour trying to post down low. Options around the Hornets. Now look to Petty. 3-pointer from the corner. Scrapes the iron and out. Offensive rebound. And a wide open Bree Spainhour.
And on both ends of the floor, you're seeing it, a great defensive possession by Spainhour. Almost a shot clock violation. Comes back, gets a bucket on the other end. That's a name we're going to be saying a lot.
First points of the day go to number 25 in white. Lynchburg, a team that has not won a game this season when trailing at the half. They want to get off on the right foot, but the Cave Spring graduate, Emma Jones, sinks a straightaway 3 to get Averett on the board. 2 fourth-year head coaches, at least with their respective programs. Coach Allison Nichols for Lynchburg, formerly coaching at Randolph, right down the street. Desiree Driver was an assistant at NC Wesleyan as Harris's 3 is off the mark. Earlier this season, Kevin, Lynchburg ran into NC Wesleyan on the schedule, and they played Coach Artina Trader, who actually coached with Coach Desiree Driver. As Jiggets is off the mark, and rebound now up and away for Lynchburg, who had an option. Goes out of bounds. It'll stay with the Hornets as they lead 3-2 in the opening.
We talked about the 3-point shooting to start this game, but a lot of the presence so far for Lynchburg has been in the paint. You saw it there. Another entry pass trying to get it going into the post, where it's a wide open look for Lynchburg. Definitely a different style of game playing here to start. You're seeing it again with Spainhour.
The paint has been wide open on several occasions. Lynchburg still working it around as Audra Petty loses possession. Here come the Cougars. Averett coming off a loss versus EMU last time out, but they've won 2 of their last 5 despite a cold start to the season. Those wins coming against Bob Jones and Ferrum. Feels like the ODAC is so difficult with so many teams in that NCAA picture. You know, the top 4 will all be candidates to go to March Madness, and so every game like this, where you're not playing against that Mount Rushmore, feels that much more important. Spainhour cross court to Olivia Harris, had options. Now Petty looking to get the gimme by the bucket, offensive rebound, and the jump will head the direction of the Cougars.
Not a basket that time, but again, you saw the pump fake dribble into the paint. Lynchburg making a concerted effort to get the ball into the post to try to get their scoring done here early.
Definitely something that Lynchburg doesn't necessarily elect to do throughout the season. Not the tallest team in the ODAC, but Bree Spainhour, as we said, has perimeter tendencies. A lot of length and versatility for this front court. As a shot's up from Brown off the mark, and the offensive rebound from Mariah Eberhardt as the Cougars get another mid-range to fall. A lot of full court pressure as well, something that's very characteristic of this Averett squad. As Olivia Harris goes for two from the free throw line, knocks it home.
Early on, Lynchburg doing a great job of breaking that press to get some really good looks on the offensive end. They haven't converted a lot yet, but they're starting to figure it out.
Options offensively, and especially for a team that can get off to a track meet. As three-point shot up from Jones. Somehow the rebound slithers back and fouled on the shot. So 2 free throws incoming. Foul is called on Bree Spainhour, number 1 on the day for the Hornets, as a pair of substitutions enter the contest. Letty Michael in for Lynchburg, and Carmen Moore, the redshirt sophomore, steps in for Averett.
For Averett, we mentioned Jiggets as their player to watch, but Emma Jones has really been kind of the unsung hero. You mentioned their win against Ferrum. She was actually the leading scorer in that game. 13 points to kind of provide a spark for them to get that first conference win of the season. She's been a very reliable player for them so far this season.
Well, coming through in big spots, just a sophomore. She started 13 of the 20 contests this season, and also when you look at her freshman campaign, she was tied for the team lead with 26 from three-point range. Lots of skills that Coach Desiree Driver's trying to employ. Passes go around the horn now. Spainhour outside to an open Littlejohn, fires away. Follow through looks clean as day, and number 4 is on the board.
And as soon as we start talking about the paint presence, they knock down a 3. That's usually how it goes. But Lynchburg needs those to start falling.
You want to have a wide variety of options in that toolbox. Lynchburg starting to explore as Carmen Moore called for the travel, and once again here is that full court pressure. Olivia Harris certainly playing well in recent games. Last year didn't start a single contest. She was really a spark plug as that 6th man in 24 appearances, as Spainhour runs through traffic, and 1 at the line. A chance to make it a 3-point play, and we'll see who that foul is called on. Bree Spainhour, so lengthy to get to the hoop.
And for Averett, it'll be interesting to see if they stay in that full court press. Lynchburg really hasn't had a lot of problems yet. You got to start to think maybe fatigue in a full court press will wear your team down. But with the minutes these Averett players play, they might have to start thinking about conserving a little energy and backing into a half-court set.
Well, that's a great point to explore as well, because this is an Averett team that uses so many different players on their bench. When you look at players who are averaging 10 or more minutes, they have 14 different Cougars. So it's not only a good starting 5 for Averett, but you can really field almost 3 separate lineups with completely different people. As the pass from the short corner is out, reversal. Now Jaya Brown hesitates. Back out to Carmen Moore, shot clock dripping down. Chance for 3. This one off the mark. Letty Michael rebounds, and transition opportunity. Brooke Kaysen looking for cuts. Hornets still surveying. Here's Kate Littlejohn. Kicks it to the corner. Olivia Harris cross court. Better opportunity as Vandergrift was ready to go. Caught for the travel, and she knew it. 2 new Cougars will enter the game. Brianna Sams and Skylar Jones will enter the contest, but they will have to do so after our media timeout. Lynchburg leading Averett 10-6 in the opening minutes from Turner Gymnasium.
Imprint on who I am as a person, competing at a Division III level, created that opportunity for me to go to college. Not only was I the first one in my family to graduate college, but I was really the first one to even go. Being the first one, I'm breaking that cycle, and now that I've graduated, I'm not sure what's the next step, but I know I have a lot of doors open. And a lot of those are open because I played football and ran track here at Otterbein.
Back with all the action inside Turner Gymnasium. Evan Gates and Kevin Nestor taking you through this contest as Lynchburg leads Averett 10-6 in the early going. Shot from the corner, front rim and out. Ashley Vandergrift the rebound. Great way to celebrate all the festivities. National Girls and Women in Sports Day, followed by the Code Red contest for Lynchburg's men's team as they take on Randolph at 7:30 as Olivia Harris up and away for liftoff at 3 to the tally. The senior with a chance to hit 1,000 points this season. Really on good trajectory as of late. Here's another disruption. It might be two more as Olivia Harris showing what she can do, showcasing all around and off to the sprints. We will stay right here during this break, but the Hornets getting off to an early lead, 15-6 here in this first period.
I think you're seeing on both sides of the ball two completely different game styles on offense and defense. Lynchburg pushing the pace, looking for open shots, trying to get it quick in the shot clock. Defensively, they're playing a half-court set, but they're being very aggressive, attacking the ball, getting in those passing lanes, whereas Averett, they're in a full-court pressure. When they settle down, they're just picking their man up. On the offensive end, Averett's really going deep into the shot clock, trying to take some time off to find an open look, and it hasn't been there in the early stages of this first quarter.
Well, it feels like turnovers have been such a big part of the conversation throughout this season as well. Just 3 for Averett right now, but you're seeing Lynchburg take advantage of those opportunities, and they know it because other teams have done that against the Hornets this season. If you look at that contest versus Guilford, the Quakers had 33 points off turnovers versus Lynchburg, so you understand the value of protecting the ball.
And it almost feels like that's one of the topics that we talk about in every pregame, breakdown is turnovers. And it's something that Coach Nichols is harping on. We've got to limit turnovers, find a way to get turnovers on, and we can create points on that.
We talk about the swings during the game of basketball. It's truly unlike a lot of other sports in the sense that 5 or 6 points can go either direction just based on some of those plays. And Lynchburg, a team that likes to run up and down the court, certainly understands that because there are so many swings. It feels like in these close games against opponents like Randolph, where they've lost by just a couple points, those might be the difference makers. Jiggets up and under, missed the layup. It'll stay with the Cougars, but you see some of the tools at Jiggets' disposal.
And you was talking about turnovers and how quick they can change the game. You saw it there, a turnover nearly leading to 2 points, a block out of bounds, kept it in Averett's possession, but that could have just as easily been 2 points and another momentum swing here early.
Momentum, a great way to put it, and Lynchburg has really struggled in these first halves recently, trailing in all 6 during the 6-game losing streak through 20 minutes. It has a little craftiness on Averett's side, but Eberhardt unable to keep it in. This Lynchburg team, in those 6 games that they have lost, 3 of them have been by single digits, and those 2 games that you saw in the middle of it, Shenandoah and Randolph lost by a combined 5 points. So it's really taken an emotional toll on this Lynchburg team, but you can tell physically they're back up and running in this contest, leading by double figures. Audra Petty from the post. We've talked about her perimeter prowess all season long. Well, she can also get down on the block. and certainly a great option and blooming in her freshman season. And there's another turnover. Careless from Averett's offense just off the inbounds. Coach Desiree Driver not liking that one on the sideline, but Lynchburg gifted another opportunity up 12. Weddy Michael searching for options. She didn't really have any. 5 seconds, and Averett takes over. So obviously that alleviates the previous struggle of just trying to protect the ball. Back and forth we go. 2:40 left in this first quarter. Macy Mullins was ready for the deflection. 3-point bucket off the mark. Second chance from Jiggets down low. We'll see if the foul was on the shot.
I think they're going to get over the back, and I think that's a really good call. She was down there fighting for a rebound. Maybe got a little too aggressive.
Great observation. Yeah, you see that's just a little bit too much. So Lynchburg takes over, up 18-6. Here's Olivia Harris. Pass to Letty Michael. Such a three-point sharpshooter. Passes to another one, Vandergrift. Oh, swishes all day. Someone who has certainly continued to try and find that stroke this season. Such a good three-point shooter when she is off and running. Ashley Vandergrift last season made her debut against Wilson, went 5 for 5 from beyond the perimeter. Starting to get some more minutes off the bench, as is Macy Mullins, someone else who's in the contest, someone else who's going to field a pass for three from the corner, knock it home.
There's that three ball we talked about, but that's all set up by the movement, the vision, the pass accuracy. It all combines to make a beautiful possession. You know Lynchburg's going to be happy about that one.
Well, Kevin, we talk about the three-point shooting. You can't even escape it in your conversation because so many Hornets are ready to shoot around the perimeter. This Averett team has allowed teams to shoot 30% against them from three-point land. Lynchburg, really the opposite, a team that has shut down those three-point percentages of opponents. But, Kevin, the last 3 games for the Hornets, opponents have shot 38% or higher from three-point land.
That's something, you know, we talk about identity, and Lynchburg has a very good identity of shooting the three ball. You're not going to change that overnight. You're not going to change that over a course of a season. That's kind of what's embedded in your program. But they have added, you know, these cuts, the passes, everything to kind of just make it a little bit easier on their offensive playmakers to flow, and it's kind of worked out here in this first quarter.
Starting to see lots of shooting and lots of confidence, something that Lynchburg has been dying to see as Spainauer leads Vandergrift up the court. Layup opportunity rattles home. The Hornets putting on a scoring clinic in this first quarter, putting up 26 points. Hornets team that is shooting 80+% from field goal range right now, and it's really starting to show with so many easy looks by the bucket.
I know you got the stats in front of you. You might have to check this. I think this is like a 22-0 run Lynchburg's on right here.
That's exactly right, 22-0. We might have to go and look at some of the record books. You don't exactly have those statistics laid out. 26-6 run is good enough, but the Hornets have really shut the door. A chance to add on, and 10 for their last 11. Sizzling. Vandergrift from the logo looked good off the mark. Averett might have one final chance as Jiggets fires for three, clips right iron and out. But Coach Nichols and this Lynchburg team absolutely desperate just to get a win and end the losing streak of 6 games, looking very comfortable in the early going here in Turner Gymnasium. A 20-point lead for the hometown Hornets.
Lynchburg is all about you, your ideas, and your goals. We've got one professor for every 10 students, so you can get all the support you need. And the classroom, in the lab, or in nature. You'll learn by putting yourself out there, and we're right there with you.
Look what you're missing! It really don't matter to me, I'm just happy to be here, I might go crazy.
Lynchburg's official field goal percentage after one period of play, 76.9%. Sizzling from all over on the court as they lead Averett 26-6 and currently on a 22-0 run. If you're just joining us, Evan Gates and Kevin Nestor taking you through this contest as Petty hits the hardwood. Not enough contact for the referee to intervene. Doesn't matter. Lynchburg steals it right back. And they have continued to stay in business as Spainhour evades traffic, but off the glass. Here come the Cougars, heading the other direction. Zaria America passes outside, and now Dee Jiggett's just trying to get some motion. Takes a shot, looks like her toe was on the line. Lynchburg gonna save the rebound. Great work from Macy Mullins. Now the pass to Kaysen. Connect the dots to the corner. Petty. Moving it around, the Hornets just finding so many windows. This time, three-pointer off the mark from Petty. Back and forth we go to start this second quarter. America outside. Ball deflected, and Bree Spainhour nifty to get her hands on it. And there's just a foul way out from the basket. Not one you'll like if you're Coach Driver, but it does stop Lynchburg's momentum.
And for Averett, I think the message in that first quarter is, you mentioned 76%. Obviously, that you would think that's not sustainable throughout the game. So Averett's got to think that's going to slow down, but they got to find a way to get themselves back in it. Eliminating those turnovers, the needless fouls, those type of things can really spark Lynchburg back up and keep them rolling. Those are the things you got to eliminate to get back into this game.
Well, when this was a 5-2 ball game, it felt so different in the sense that Averett really had a good handprint on the momentum. Lynchburg was a little rattled, and then all of a sudden starting to shoot the ball, and flames falling in Turner Gymnasium. Brooke Kaysen joins the party.
And maybe, Evan, maybe it is sustainable. What do I know?
Well, the Hornets, let's just say this. This is a three-point shooting team that cannot be messed with on a good day. They set the program record last season for threes in a ball game against Wilson. Sustainability efforts are not just a climate conversation. Lynchburg women's basketball can make you rethink a few things if you're on defense. Olivia Harris, left hand laser down the court, but Emma Jones gets a foot on it out of bounds. It'll stick with the Hornets. That's a quarterback pass, Kevin Nestor.
That was great accuracy.
Olivia Harris has just continued to blossom in her senior season. Certainly had a heightened role even as a freshman here at Lynchburg, but you're starting to see it more and more. Deflection from the Hornets. It'll stay with Lynchburg. 7:30 to go in the second quarter. $11 points off turnovers for the Hornets. And what's interesting, Kevin, is that turnover category is just 7 to 6. And the Cougars with that 7, but Lynchburg doing so much with it and opening up windows on the other side.
And it just almost feels like Averett, they're trying to get it all back at once. They're playing fast, downhill, and a lot of times that can just lead you to get out of control, even if you're not turning the ball or maybe forcing a bad shot. And that just kind of feels like the story of this first half so far.
Quick possessions as well, as Lynchburg already corralling and ready to rally. Harris down low to Spainhour. Thought about maybe going with the reversal. takes a hop out of bounds. Averett takes over with 6:50 to go here in the second quarter. Skylar Jones gonna survey options, the junior from Raleigh, North Carolina. Screen up top, here's the three, misses the rim. And once again, the track meet is off and running. The Hornets handing off the baton. Casey Kelly can't connect from the mid-range. Really just a few steps under the bucket. Reversal as America latches on to another three, no good. Here comes Brooke Kaysen. Kicks it out, three on the way, and it connects. Brooke Kaysen, somebody who is trying to find her stroke desperately, shooting just 17% in the last 8 contests, already swishing home a few threes, and that's the trademark Brooke Kaysen that we have seen in her first 3 seasons. So valuable when she is shooting with confidence. Emma Jones looking to connect on the other end. And for a disgruntled Averett squad, they finally end the run. A 30-0 run for the Hornets. And a big-time three from Jones as this pass is out of bounds. Cougars will take over, and Darcy Ross enters the equation for the Hornets, the senior from Allegheny High School, as Bree Spainhour takes a seat.
For Spainhour, she was our player to watch, but you gotta, looking at the stat sheet, I don't know how many points she has, but it's not as many as the flamethrowers around her. And you gotta think she's gonna be a little disappointed to not have more than what she has with some of the looks she had.
It's credit to the passing when Lynchburg is playing with versatility. They open so many options. And Bree Spainhour, someone who has really lived in the paint in recent games, and that's not always the case. Somebody who might want to be outside or around the perimeter. But she is continuing to be a threat down low.
And I don't think she'll be mad, because I don't think, there's a soul on this Lynchburg team who's selfish in that regard. I just, seeing this Lynchburg come out, we talked about the height disadvantage they have against most teams, but what do you do when you do have the height advantage and you're still a flamethrowing team? That's going to work out pretty good for you.
It's almost about picking your poison, or at least making defenses do so, because as Lynchburg has proven, when they are hot from three-point range, they'll also get some easy looks. But Emma Jones just making three-point shooting look easy at this point. 3 on the day for the Cougars. Now 10 of the 12 belong to Emma Jones, the sophomore out of Roanoke, Virginia. Here's Harris looking to run baseline and caught for the offensive foul.
And on that last offensive possession for Averett, Coach Stryver was telling her squad to push it, and that's something that I alluded to earlier. They're going fast-paced, getting downhill, but at one point do you kind of slow it down and start to find those better looks?
This Averett team continuing to try and gain back momentum, or at least start. They've got a long ways to go. Lynchburg leads 34-12 in Turner Gymnasium, trying to escape a 6-game losing streak.
Living the dream.
USA, Mexico. That was so exciting.
Versatility on the offensive side for this Lynchburg team that leads Averett 34-12, and they're getting contributions all around. 8 different scores so far. This Hornets team right now led by Olivia Harris, was 7, but nobody's in double figures, and everybody is getting involved in the equation. A team that has so many different shooters that can get hot as the Cougars sneak away an easy one down low. Nycarasia Coleman, the junior from Lancaster, South Carolina. Casey Kelly, head down, looking to get to the hoop. Denied down low, but not without a foul. Zaria America called for this one.
That's a foul Coach Driver's not going to like. But the last couple of times down the court, the refs have let a little bit of contact slip away from the lane down there. That time, Averett was called for it.
It's almost like when you talk about soccer, issuing a yellow or red card, you got a few equations, or excuse me, a few examples where you're saying, okay, yeah, maybe not a card yet, but let's think about this, and then second or third offense, it might be a different story. Casey Kelly, multi-sport athlete, also on Lynchburg's track team, and someone who is just so energetic, brings so much to a program. That's why she's on 2 of them. It's a smile from Olivia Harris down on the court. She's called for the foul. Cougars will inbound with 3:47 to go here in this second period.
I think, we're only still in the first half here, but if it continues to trend this way, we might see quite a few Hornets get on the board. I know you mentioned the number that we had earlier, but I would be surprised if we see 10 or more.
Well, what's so interesting is that we've seen this lineup shorten up in recent games. Coach Nichols has really mentioned trying to find some consistency as Averett Skylar Jones gets an easy 2 off the glass. But this Hornets team is proving that even those bench players can come in and provide a spark, even if it's just 1 or 2 buckets. It really takes a committee, especially against some of the toughest teams in the ODAC, teams that have so much depth. Cougars starting to look a little bit more comfortable. Cuts the lead to 19. Here is Jones. Trying to go through traffic out to America for 3. Takes a few bounces and rattles out, but Kate Littlejohn can't collect the rebound.
And we're not going to write this game off yet. Lynchburg, they're definitely not doing themselves any favors. And Averett, they keep chipping away at it. You never know what can happen, especially here before this break, these last 3 minutes.
Well, if you've watched this Lynchburg women's basketball season too, you know it has been far from maybe the expectation. And that's not even in the sense that this team lost 6 straight games as Brooke Kaysen sends it to the wall. Dominant denial, but Averett will maintain down low. But Kevin, seeing how Lynchburg has gotten some of the wins this season, it's just so impressive because they beat Webster, a team that had 1 loss in really the last season and a half. They've hung with teams like Shenandoah and like Bridgewater, we'll even say for some of it, but it really just feels like the games that they're struggling to win are those where it is that middle of the table conference competition.
And a lot of that you mentioned, whether it's been mid-tier ODAC teams, high-tier, it's just been putting the complete game together. You'll see a really good quarter or a really good half, but there's been very few really complete games as you see a tough bucket on the Cougars end.
Playing 40 minutes is such a valuable aspect of a team that wants to make a run or even go deep into a postseason. Kaysen harassed, but the foul is away from the ball. We'll wait and see who it's called on. Looks like it's Brooke Kaysen or Audra Petty. That one's on Spainhour, second personal. And Vandergrift will hit the scores table. And they'll make that substitution with 2 minutes to go here in the first half. Lynchburg continuing to dominate here in the early stages as Jiggets looks to be called for another foul under the bucket. Second time today we've seen that little extra aggression.
We mentioned at the top of the broadcast, she's also their leading rebounder as their point guard. So something we don't see a lot. We can definitely see why with her physicality in the paint. Not scared to go up and go after a rebound.
Really just brings the full package. Local kid. Graduated from Magna Vista High School in Danville. As Audra Petty adds 2 to the total. Lynchburg up to 37. But Jiggett's certainly someone who's going to bring a lot of aggression for years to come. There's another 2 swished home from number 5. Kaysen outside to Letty Michael, ready to fire off the mark. Rebound from Carmen Moore. Looking to advance, maybe add a little extra tempo. Jiggett's able to avoid Ashley Vandergrift. But now options down the court. Petty has it swiped away. Nobody wants to keep the ball now. Averett trying to advance. Letty Michael keeps it on the right side of the court. Everybody everywhere, and all of a sudden Audra Petty has loads of space. Warm-up jumper from the corner, and Lynchburg hits 40.
For a second there, I wasn't sure what we were watching.
Is it a rugby scrum? Is it lacrosse? We're trying to figure out what season.
Kate Littlejohn had her leg wrapped up by an Averett defender there, had to pass the ball out. That was entertaining for sure.
Well, it's almost a smart decision not to draw a foul in that case because Audra Petty was so open in the corner. Wow, one of those plays you won't exactly draw up, but it does result in 3 points, just like so many others have today for Lynchburg. 3-point shooting has really started to wake up. It feels like it's been in hibernation. A great chance to bring it back. 7 of 13 from 3-point range. And there's a look at Audra Petty. We've mentioned Jiggett's on Averett's side. Well, Petty, another freshman that can really make a difference, and she is obviously valuable in the sense that she can do it down low. She's been a force from 3-point range, but she's here for another 3 years.
And that's huge for Lynchburg. We mentioned they kind of slimmed their lineup down, but they're really a by-rotation committee, and whenever they get into those rotations, it allows for so much more kind of flow. No one's getting tired. They're all passing. They're all moving, and it allows for looks like that.
I mean, that was really San Antonio Spurs offense. Popovich options as Averett might elect to just hoist one up, but that's going to be the end of the first half, and it's one that Lynchburg has desperately needed looking at recent games. A 6-game skid, and if it stands, it looks like Lynchburg is really ready to fire as they head down the stretch. Some very close games in the last 6, but right now, Kevin, obviously the Hornets put the pedal to the metal early, and it feels like their confidence is on at a different level today.
Right, and every time Averett's kind of chipped away a little bit to cut it to 18 or 17 or 16, whatever the case is, it just seems like Lynchburg's got that 2 or 3 possession flurry. They just keep extending it back out, and it's going to be really hard to kind of chip away when so many players on this Lynchburg roster are starting to catch fire.
The Flames up and away in Turner Gymnasium. 40-21 lead for the Hornets. We'll be back with some halftime stats and analysis on the other side.
I learned a lot of valuable lessons playing college football. I never thought about the health benefits of exercise until I actually started to talk to coaches in college. It's not only just for performance, it's for life. My coaches instilled the importance of well-being, not only building up strength, mental health, getting enough sleep, eating properly is all what it is to be healthy. I decided that I want to go on a personal trainer and share my knowledge that I obtained in college about physical and mental well-being.
Today's a rough day. Jess and I are officially on a break. The couple canoe has broken up.
It's not.
How you feeling?
Living the dream.
Just canoeing. That's the Mexican side behind me. The U.S. is that way.
So far, we're all still alive.
I really want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Woo! We did it! Kind of.
My name is Alexis Fabula. I major in criminology and I double minor in psychology and criminal forensics. My favorite part about Lynchburg is the friends that I've come to have. It's helped me come out of my shell more, and it's helped me become the person I am and the student I am. I really enjoyed how small the campus was, and I also really enjoy how small the class sizes are. It made me feel like I was going to be more engaged than I would at a bigger campus. If someone was on the fence of coming to the University of Lynchburg, I would definitely love to sit down and have a conversation with them, because I'm forever grateful that I made this choice. It's definitely something that a student wouldn't regret. Out of my 4 years here, I've not had one bad experience. I've had a great 4 years, and I'm going to be very sad to go.
Want to have some outdoor adventures while getting a degree at the same time? At the University of Lynchburg, we have an on-campus zip line and rope sports. Plus, we offer adventure trips that cost less than a cup of coffee. And did I mention our beautiful scenery? We're a university for students looking for something more than just books. Welcome to your new adventure experience.
Tim Slusser from the Outdoor Leadership Program gave a presentation at a Teaching and Learning Resources Conference here about getting his program more involved on the academic side of campus. I mentioned computers and mapping, and he mentioned caving, and eventually we came up with the idea of mapping caves.
So the week before, we were able to learn how to use the instruments kind of like on a flat surface and just kind of get a hang of how they work. But it was really amazing how once we got in the cave, it was a completely different experience using them.
It was unique. It got most of us out of our comfort zone, kind of gave us a new experience, a new taste of something new. But I think the most difficult parts were getting the lighting right. You had to read the instruments with the headlamps while keeping your eye pointed on the plot point.
This allowed them to actually literally get their hands dirty, collecting data, conducting measurements, and putting all that together in the form of a map, and doing it in a place that's never been mapped before.
Think a private education is too expensive? Think again. At the University of Lynchburg, you can get a personalized education for the cost of a state school. If you're commuting and you get our top scholarships, you could pay much less. And you get all that without the hassle of giant lecture halls. Our faculty know your name here and do more than just teach. You might even do research together and plan out your next career moves.
being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school, it's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
The biggest thing that I've taken from Westover is probably my interactions with faculty. I started working with Dr. Fryer. He's always available for help, and he makes sure that I get to do the experiments and not just be there while he does them. I didn't want to limit myself when I came here to just taking the prereqs for med school. I wanted to get a full, well-rounded education, and I definitely found that in the Westover program. It's given me the opportunity to keep playing soccer at a competitive level, but also it's given me the ability to be a student and to pursue other activities such as EMS. I 100% do Westover because it's not something they're going to regret, and it's going to be a lot of work, but so is everything else. It's just going to help build their education that they've already had and make them a better person for it.
When creating a sustainable future, your choices matter, even your choice of a college. The University of Lynchburg is the first college in Virginia to go carbon neutral. Our dining hall is Green Restaurant certified. We compost all of our food waste and purchase our electricity from landfill gas. Now we're turning a hazardous lake into a thriving urban wetland. When you choose Lynchburg, you leave a smaller footprint while building a better tomorrow.
When you come to the University of Lynchburg to earn a master's degree in athletic training, you'll spend time in the classroom, but you'll also spend a lot of time in our top-notch facilities, learning from athletic trainers and working closely with our student athletes. In the Graduate Cadaver Lab, you'll learn about the human body in the best way possible, by actually studying the human body. This will provide a foundation to make you a much better athletic trainer. In the Athletic Training Laboratory, you'll get hands-on experience, practicing your skills, applying concepts from the classroom, and working with faculty on research projects. It's also where our hydrotherapy facilities are. This space is also used by students for studying and practicing skills outside of class time. In the Sports Medicine Clinic and Turner Gymnasium, you'll work with student athletes from more than 20 NCAA Division III sports teams, helping get them back to practice and into the game as soon as possible. As an athletic training student, you're a big part of the success of our sports teams and the success of the local athletic teams. We see this relationship as a win-win situation. You learn, and that helps us win.
I was looking for a school that could provide me with the athletics, academics to pursue my career, a wind symphony to pursue my passion for music, and really have a nice general atmosphere. The professors here are really unique, their background and their passion for teaching. It's really a place where you can explore. Lynchburg gives you the opportunity to fail, but also get back up in that period of time and learn from your mistakes. I can make these mistakes within the school environment, but also with the support of other friends, and be ready for the real world when you graduate.
Returning to Turner Gymnasium, Evan Gates and Kevin Nestor walking you through this contest as Lynchburg is off and sprinting after half number 1. They lead Averett 40-21. And so far, Kevin, three-point shooting has certainly been a big emphasis for Coach Nichols' squad. That's obviously in the entire blueprint, but it's really starting to show up today on the stat sheet.
Right, especially in that first quarter, the way they were able to shoot the ball, extend the lead, get out to an advantage that almost seemed insurmountable when we were only in the first quarter. Averett done a good job slowing it down in the second quarter, chipping away a little bit, but it seemed like no matter what momentum they had, Lynchburg was able to counter with a bucket to kind of stall that momentum. So it's going to be interesting to see how Averett comes out. Will they come out in that press, continue to attack, try to stop, try to force turnovers, try to get quick baskets, or will they slow it down a little bit and try to look for those better looks to get back into this game?
Definitely going to have to be a chip away mentality. You can't get it all at once, but Lynchburg right now certainly in the driver's seat for Coach Nichols' squad. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the games to come for Lynchburg. It's never too early to start looking at the big picture, especially heading into this postseason push. Coming into these final 5 games, Kevin, obviously Washington and Lee on the docket this weekend. That's a road game, a very difficult contest. But you see Virginia Wesleyan, EMU, and Randolph, 3 teams that are in the bottom half of the conference right now. And if Lynchburg can take care of business, those 3, that Mary Washington game is non-conference, and somebody else is going to have to lose. So the Hornets have a chance to be in that top 8.
Right, and I think that's the message that Coach Nichols has been giving her squad. Although this isn't the stretch that they've wanted out of these last few games. You mentioned losing 6. There's still a path to the playoffs, especially on the ODAC side, and it's very manageable. You mentioned it, playing teams that are lower than them in the conference standings. The people that they're kind of in this tight battle with right around that cutoff line, they're playing really tough squads in the ODAC. So Lynchburg, there's a way in, take care of your business and see what happens.
That's a great way to put it, because all Lynchburg can do is handle their games. You don't want to have to wait and put pressure on other teams. Just understand that if you get the wins, the rest will fall into place. And it will be fun to watch as we head down the stretch. D.D. Jiggett's already on the board to start the second half, much like the first, where the Cougars were the first to pounce. But now Lynchburg, once again with this starting 5 in, have a chance to try and get some familiarity as Brooke Kaysen had a little bit of space down low. Bree Spainauer just heckled 3 Averett players all around. Coach Nichols, a look at the referee saying, how much is too much?
Like Nichols wanted a foul before a foul was called there, and the ref letting her know, Coach, I got it. I called it. Got things taken care of.
Might take a few seconds, and we've seen a few calls here at Turner Gymnasium. Credit to the officiating crews, because they always feels like doing a fantastic job, because we don't really have to mention them. That's when you know they are just so consistent. But we've seen a few times throughout this season, this Lynchburg team's short. They like to get to the hoop, so a few times where you're saying, where's the call, or you're wondering how much contact, well, they've been able to figure it out. Haven't needed it as much tonight. 7 3-pointers in the first half. Maybe number 8 loading. Kaysen trying to go upstairs, pass denied, and Averett takes off the other way. Jaya Brown looking for space, just hits the hardwood. And Emma Jones gets the connection, 11-12-13, and all of a sudden, Kate Littlejohn tied up down in the paint. It'll be Lynchburg basketball.
And for Averett, that's a good sign. They came out, got a couple of defensive stops, was able to score a bucket down in the paint, got a really good look from 3 there, fighting for rebounds, fighting for loose balls. That's how you get back into this game. Chip away at the lead. These little things that we might look at as one possession here or there, that's how you get back into this game.
It's all about the hustle, all about the fight. Starting to see it manifest for Coach Driver's squad. Still trailing Lynchburg considerably. The Hornets trying to find their offensive rhythm to begin the second half. 40 minutes of basketball has certainly been part of the emphasis, trying to connect the dots. It's a foul's called on Jaya Brown.
I think if this was the NBA, that would have been a flop call too, because that was a lot of extra movement that I don't quite think was necessary. But Hard to tell from up here in the press box.
This prompts a good conversation, Kevin, because so many of those NBA-like rules are making their way to college. I mean, even look at Division I, you see schools that are wearing numbers that are NBA-esque. You see any number, it's not just the 1 through 5 and then the 10 through 15. You see your number 97s out there. How much do you think the NBA is going to impact college basketball in the next few years with some of those calls?
I think it will with every facet, especially with NIL coming into play in all 3 levels of NCAA. It's such a good thing for the game, but there's going to be a lot of changes that players, coaches, administrators, us, that we're going to have to get used to with all of these changes coming in.
Well, it's so interesting because, like you said, it does impact everybody, but it's also for the players an incentive to get out there, and the quicker you learn it, you might have something up on your opponents. And like some of those flop calls, I mean, even seeing the ODAC this year implementing those replays, the coaches that take advantage and push it on the agenda, they might have a step ahead, as Brooke Kaysen's been a step ahead all night. Another three-pointer.
And the replay, that's a really good point. There's been a couple of times this season when I've been down courtside and hearing coaches say, hey, can we look at that? And that's almost like a free timeout. You know, if you can persuade the ref to look at something, to look at a call, you can have a few minutes to get your team regrouped.
Petty misses the straightaway 3. It'll go Averett's way. Yes, so interesting. And the coaches have adapted quickly, I think, for that very reason. You understand there's almost always a benefit to either slow down the game during those situations or get an extra conversation in. That being said, it does take a year or two to really adjust, and then you start ironing out some of those kinks. How much more will the collegiate landscape change? That's going to be an interesting topic to explore, as an easy bucket for Mariah Eberhardt doesn't fall. The Cougars still have the ball under their hoop.
And Avery, that's another really good possession. That's a basket you've got to capitalize on. A really good move to get to the basket. Absolutely no one around, uncontested. Got to be able to finish that now. They still got the ball. Maybe they can make something happen.
This Cougar squad, we've mentioned, really gets it done by committee. So many players averaging 10+ minutes. But Dee Jiggets has been the leader on the stat sheet, and you feel in the starting lineup just from a leadership role. 14 consecutive games in double figures and 11 games with 4 or more steals this season. So she has been red hot. And obviously for a freshman to come in and deliver, it's something Coach Driver will really appreciate. Jaya Brown sets up shop, looking for options. Brianna Sams might have had a path to the bucket, but still more reversing from the Cougars. Foul called on the drive. And Ashley Vandergrift will step back into this contest. So another player who's getting more minutes off this bench for Lynchburg, and Kevin going down this stretch and maybe having that chance to qualify for the ODAC tournament. You need everybody to be on and really playing at a high level.
Yeah, and for Lynchburg, you know, it can only help because you never know what will happen with injuries, things like that. Fatigue plays into it. And the more players that you get in that kind of get that experience before the postseason, it can only benefit you whenever you go into that tournament. Not to mention, might throw a couple wrinkles into some game plans for some teams that you might face if there's some new faces coming in that they haven't seen play.
You go through your scouting reports, and there's obviously so much of the story that the numbers can tell you. But even having film for those players that have maybe only played a few minutes per game, you cannot predict when somebody's going to go out and have a career day. And for a three-point shooting team like Lynchburg, it feels like it can only play as an advantage because so many different players can shoot the ball.
Absolutely.
Hornets have really explored that option as Casey Kelly, a rim roll away from an and-one opportunity. It falls out. She'll have 2 shots at the stripe.
For a lot of these athletes on Lynchburg squad, it feels like that's all it is. You know, court time, the experience, that's all they're lacking from having that career day, going out playing, getting that chemistry. At any point in time, whenever they get comfortable, any of them could explode to have a career day.
I think that's a positive sign about where Lynchburg is at in this season as well. I don't think anybody, including this coaching staff, would tell you the Hornets would be 6-12 through 18 games. They started conference play 3-2, have dropped 6 straight in the ODAC. And so you're obviously saying, okay, we were pre-ranked 6th in the ODAC poll. Not that it's worth its salt at that point. It's the real slate now. But you understand our best basketball is still ahead of us, and that's a very powerful thing for a team that wants to make a run.
Right. Obviously, you come into these seasons and you want to win every game, but it's not feasible with the teams that are in this ODAC conference. It's just not feasible. But if you can continue to get better throughout the regular season and you can continue to improve, get the chemistry up, get the morale up, and just be ready heading into there, there's so many times we talk about postseason miracles that the underdog, they didn't look at it as a miracle. They looked at it as an opportunity, and for Lynchburg, that's all they have left is opportunities.
Absolutely, and so many games to do so. Still very early. Still a lot to play for. And if you're Coach Nichols, that's definitely something you can appreciate. We'll take a look at some of the scores around the league. W&L playing down the street at Randolph. They are leading by just 6, 47-41 in that contest. So maybe something to keep an eye on, because Mary Slicener has obviously been top in the nation for several statistical categories, but this entire general squad is playing at a high level. So a close game across town. Chance down low, extra bounce pass off the mark. Another close look, and we're seeing Averett really just denied right at the window. They've had several opportunities.
And that's another one, really good 20-second offensive possession. Get your good look, ball movement. You're right there at the basket. At that point, all you got to do is finish.
5th foul on the Cougars, so Lynchburg's playing in the bonus for the final 5 minutes of this third quarter. So stop and go, and Vandergrift sinks the first. Free throws definitely something Lynchburg wants to keep doing and wants to keep improving. Shooting 65% from the stripe this season, but the question mark has not been how they have shot. It's been how many chances are they getting to the line, and starting to do it better in recent performances. Cougars on the prowl. Great cut, but an offensive foul against Averett. Another one. It feels like they're starting to tally.
Foul was on Lynchburg there.
Looks like it was just the wrong signal, so it will be, because an Averett player did hit the hardwood. That one will be one we'll have to decipher on the other side. You see a great performance from Ashley Vandergrift, a great performance from the Hornets in general. They're leading by 21. We'll be back on the other side. Well, all day long we're celebrating National Girls and Women in Sports Day. It's been a fantastic atmosphere here in Turner Gymnasium, obviously followed up by the Code Red contest on the men's side. But Kevin, we've just seen women's sports in general have such a spotlight in recent years, and compared to recent decades, getting so much more coverage. I think it's safe to say we're not at the destination yet. Still so much room for improvement, but you see so many great figures. Look no further than last weekend. Caitlin Clark, Asia Wilson getting their jerseys retired. It's just special to see what this sport is encountering.
Right, and you did a great job there. Not the destination, but we're on the way. They've done such a great job of that, and it's an honor to host a basketball game, because you mentioned those great women's basketball athletes. That kind of feels like the sport that started this movement, and now you're seeing so many benefactors come in from that. So many women's athletes starting to get the brand deals, the spotlights, making it to the WNBA's taking off.
That's right. Asia Wilson just had a signature shoe released yesterday, I believe, or at least within the last week, as Ashley Vandergrift reigns home another three-pointer. The Hornets tally creeping upwards. Definitely so many great developments going on in the women's sports atmosphere. You look at new leagues being created as well, lacrosse and volleyball getting more exposure, and so it's just awesome to see. And every year we have this game, it's pretty special, because it just feels like when you look at the last 365, it's in a better spot from where it was.
Right, and it's only going to continue to go upward. It's so great for these athletes too, to be able to come out here and put on a show, continue to develop their game as the game develops itself. It can only go upward.
That's right. Well said. As substitutions enter the ball game for the Cougars, America steps back in, and Ashley Vandergrift couldn't believe the travel call, but it does go Averett's way. 51-27, Lynchburg leads Averett. Looking at some of those three-point shooting statistics, it's always impressive, because Lynchburg is a team that has struggled all season long, but then they might have one or two games where they break out, and it can be very scary for some of the opponents in the ODAC. Pass down low, Casey Kelly, everything but the layup. Beautifully crafted play, and now Averett looking to set up shop on their end. Shot in the corner, Carmen Moore misses everything, rebounded by Eberhardt. Second chance for penetration, and one opportunity. Nycarasia Coleman, she had her season high last year versus Lynchburg with 11 points. She is in a great spot for this year's contest. And Lynchburg cleaning house. 5 on, 5 off for Coach Nichols' squad. So resetting the lineup for the Hornets, Macy Mullins, Audra Petty, Bree Spainauer, Olivia Harris, and Darcy Ross. Kevin, you don't see that very often in college basketball. What's so cool about it is that you can essentially develop your entire game plan on the bench. There's no communication when you go in the game. Everybody's right there in their seat.
Right, and it almost feels like, you look at the names on this roster, they've all been in a starting lineup. It feels like you're putting a new starting 5 in. That's, we talked about earlier with the trim in the roster. They didn't necessarily have to, because they have so much depth and the ability to play so many different styles of basketball that it's just been finding that style that works. And when you've got 5 players that can come off the bench in unison and add a spark, why not?
Well, look all the way back to the beginning of the season, and I think you brought up a great point. So many players on this team are capable of getting a high number of minutes, because Lynchburg, after losing their season opener to SVU, essentially reinvented their starting lineup for that second game of the season, and it has been nailed down. A little more consistency at this stage, but you do know there are a lot of players that can go out and perform if they need to.
Right. And just finding a consistent group that can play together. It's almost like having Evan Gates wearing a tie to every game. Consistency.
That's right, but it doesn't happen every now and then. Kevin brought up another great point. We might have to get on a tangent for this one. So Code Red night, everybody's looking dapper in Turner Gymnasium as we see another look at the charge call. Great look from Lynchburg's defense, always aware. So Kevin Nestor walks up. First few minutes we're in Turner Gymnasium. He's got the nice blue tie on, everything looking spiffy. And then, of course, this was the one day that Evan Gates decides to wear polo to the game. And so we might have to go back and make an outfit change for Code Red, or something needs to be arranged for some consistency. When did announcers start dressing up for games, too? That's another conversation we'll have to explore.
Well, for me, it started when Evan Gates was my partner, and I was told you got to show up in a tie with a well, maybe not a blazer, but the tie was the
something that was close enough. You know, sometimes we go to school in sweatpants, we get a little bored of it, so let's just dress up for the game in Turner as the mid-range falls for the Cougars.
It's like 11 a.m. wearing a sweater and sweatpants, and then having to go back to the house and change before getting my stats right because I knew who I was working with.
To go to the gym when nobody can see you.
Right.
Because technically the announcers are just the guys that, or the women that set up in the booth, and all they got to do is talk to the broadcast, to the people at home. But then you go to class, you got 70 pairs of eyes staring at you, and you're in your sweatpants and your T-shirt.
Look good, feel good.
That's right. There is a feel to it. That's why you go out there in uniforms with numbers and names on them. So much that we'll have to explore. It's been such a fun game so far, and I think if you're a Lynchburg fan, you're just glad that this is a spot where Lynchburg has really come out of the gates and delivered. Several of those wins early in the season have come down to really having to get out in this fourth quarter. And so now that Lynchburg has done their business in the first three, it'll be about maintaining down the stretch as Bree Spainauer elbow jumper falls, and Hornets up 23. Other end, Coleman spinning, but the ball is loose, out of bounds.
And what a time to be a Hornet sports fan, right? I mean, you got to be a Hornet sports fan, but just a sports fan in general. A little cold outside, not a lot to do, but we're just now kicking off. We got the end of winter season kicking off, some great games. Obviously today, it looks like the girls are going to get a win. Big-time Code Red game coming up. Crosstown rival coming over. Spring sports kicking off.
That's
so
right.
much to do, so much to watch. Such a great time for sports right now, and it's an honor to call some of it.
It's great to be a part of it. Men's volleyball had their inaugural tournament, or we could say showcase. There were 3 teams here in Turner Gymnasium this weekend. Lynchburg split as they got a win versus Averett and lost the other contest to Marymount. It's just great for the culture. So many other sports teams getting in action. And let's go ahead. I know we're both track fanatics. We try to not bring it up on the basketball broadcast, but how about Chasen Hunt running 9th in Division III history in the men's mile this weekend at the Steamer Showcase at Wittenberg. 4:02 performance, top 10 all time.
And if you've seen him, you wouldn't know it because he's not going to talk about it. He's not going to show it like, yeah, I've got a class with him actually today, and you sit down beside him and you're like, hey man, great performance this week. He's like, yeah, thanks. And then he goes about his work and just continues to work. It's awesome. And for him, you know, as a solo competitor, the stars are the limit, but then they've also got a DMR relay. There's so much potential that I cannot wait to get in the booth for and call and lay my eyes on it.
That's right.
And just kind of share it with our viewers.
Great opportunities, and like you said, one of the most humble that you will see. So many of those track athletes that have captured national titles. They won't be the first to tell you. Neither will this Lynchburg women's team, who's up 23 right now. They still have room in front of them. They're trying to go through the finish line here in Turner Gymnasium, and they're up by a bunch against Averett. The Cougars will try to cut into that deficit in the final 10 minutes. Lynchburg 54, Cougars 31.
The biggest thing that I've taken from Westover is probably my interactions with faculty. I started working with Dr. Fryer. He's always available for help, and he makes sure that I get to do the experiments and not just be there while he does them. I didn't want to limit myself when I came here to just taking the prereqs for med school. I wanted to get a full, well-rounded education, and I definitely found that in the Westover program. It's given me the opportunity to keep playing soccer.
10 minutes to play for the Hornets as they lead Averett 54-31. So glad if you're joining us here on this rather chilly Wednesday evening. Temperatures have been up in the 60s in Lynchburg the last few days. We're starting to get spoiled, and there are rumors that they will be back, but only momentarily, as it is winter and it is very quickly approaching postseason play. This Lynchburg team trying to get in on the equation, and a very difficult ODAC slate. The top 4 teams this year have been performing so well. Randolph-Macon undefeated 11-0, followed by Bridgewater, W&L, and Shenandoah.
The ODAC, man, it's just so stacked. Talent individually, as a team. I mean, you want to say it's top-heavy, but it's not, because if you were to put any of our quote-unquote mid-tier players or teams in another conference, they would be dominating. It's just this ODAC, it's so stout, but it's so much fun to watch. The highest level of Division III.
That's a great way to put it, because so many of these conferences that are local, they seek out the ODAC for that non-conference slate. Want to get games against good teams, good opponents. Goes across so many different sports as well. Averett is somewhat new to the ODAC. Coach Desiree Driver has been one of those leaders for the Cougars in transitioning this program to an ODAC team in our 4th season, and it just feels like they are competing well in so many different sports. It does take a few years to adjust, but Kevin, having them down in Danville, that's really not a long drive away. It's been awesome to have the Cougars on the slate every year.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Averett, for such a young team in the ODAC, a team that you do not want to see them in is tennis. They are stout. I mean, it is amazing the talent that they've brought in such a short time and how well they play. I mean, they got locals, they got internationals. They got a program over there.
It's always interesting trying to find the program for each school, because every single school seems to boast at least 1 or 2 programs that are just absolutely dominant. And it'll be so much fun to see. Another reason why the spring is so good. Tennis team starting to get back in action. Coleman avoids Spainhour, almost shovels it in.
It's a really good move to get around to the defender.
Olivia Harris was ready to go, and a foul is called down low. So Lynchburg will have the inbound underneath the bucket. See some of the new shirts for the Hornet players on the bench today. We mentioned National Girls and Women in Sports Day. Everybody wearing the nice, fresh gray t-shirts.
Kind of fits the look with all the new gear we got going on.
It does.
New shirts, new scores desk, new graphics for the network.
And the men's team actually wears gray uniforms as their home selection. And so we're used to seeing that on that bench. I guess they would be on the other bench here in Turner Gymnasium, but still super cool to see everybody decked out in the gear. 8:20 to play. Hornets right now leading by 23. Spainhour just a hair away from the first bucket of the 4th quarter. Lynchburg team shooting 46% now, from 3-point range, 9 of 20, so 45% in that category. And it really feels like everybody's been involved in the party. Just Ashley Vandergrift right now in double figures with 10. Here's a look at your top scorers. Mentioned Ashley Vandergrift. Also Brooke Kaysen and Audra Petty, 2 perennial starters. 9 points each. And Kevin, we can talk about the stats in this game, but it really, truly feels like Lynchburg has done it by committee, and that's probably the best result for Coach Nichols at this stage of the season.
Right, and it came about midway through that first quarter when about the first substitution wave came. The starters came in, it was a really close game. Averett actually led the game at one point. The substitutions came in, and it was like a light switch. Lynchburg got hot from everywhere, three-point range, mid-range, close. And that separation that they created, it's been the buffer throughout the rest of the game.
Really felt like Lynchburg was just off and running, and there wasn't much you could do about it. 77% from field goal range in that first quarter. They went 4 of 7 from three-point range and 26 points, and by that point, it was almost too late.
And for Lynchburg, I mean, obviously you don't want to write a game off in the first half, but it almost feels like you got to win if you go on a 30-0 run in a basketball game. We always talk about who can capture the momentum at the right time. That feels like a very long period of momentum for Lynchburg to have.
I mean, you remember that run if it happens, because it rarely ever does in basketball. I mean, it's hard to do that in a sport like football.
Right.
Harris collides going to the hoop. She'll get 2 more at the stripe, and we've talked about Olivia Harris recently, a chance to be an 1,000-point scorer at Lynchburg. You don't want to overwrite that narrative now because there still is a little bit of time left in the season. Don't want to bring any pressure to it early, but she has just been so impressive. Starting 18 games so far this season, shoots free throws well, tied for the team lead in offensive rebounds, and doing this all as that 2 guard.
We've talked about, by committee all night. I wouldn't be surprised if soon we start to see some of the players who don't have quite the minutes on the season come in and start to get those reps, maybe add on a little bit.
Have to imagine Coach Nichols wants to use some of that bench, especially heading into this stage of the season. A lot of big-time games on the schedule. Mentioned that the Hornets will be at Washington and Lee on Saturday, a team that is nationally ranked. Number 17 in the nation right now as it stands. That'll be a 2 p.m. start time. And then Averett at home versus Shenandoah, who's also another very difficult selection. A lot to unpack. And it looks like we will head to break. So another collision at midcourt we'll have to unpack on the other side. Hornets heading to the finish line in Turner. There's a look at our very own Joe Brennan, set to take you through all the action of this men's basketball game. Code Red Night in Turner Gymnasium as Lynchburg takes on crosstown rivals Randolph. He is in charge of the music. I was going to say he might be doing that final research, but he's doing everything well. Has the PA guy downstairs, and 2 added to the tally for Lynchburg. Kevin, it feels like every time that Joe's on a broadcast, too, the energy's going to be high.
Oh, yeah, you know it. It almost feels like those are the nail-biter games, and I almost get upset about it. We get up here, and there's a little bit of lull in the energy, but then Joe comes up here, and you tune in, and it's like a 100 to 100 nail-biter down to the final buzzer game almost every time. But he does such a great job. He can create his own energy. If it's
yes,
a 50-point game, he's going to find something to be energetic about, and he does it so well. And our viewers are blessed. They're going to get to hear from him here coming up shortly in the men's side.
Well, he's so great just because he hasn't really seen that Lynchburg culture coming into this year. A grad assistant with LHSN, and obviously you got to learn a lot because there's so many successful programs here in the Hill City, and he is continuing to do well.
And he has done it all, really, broadcasting, PA, announcing, stats, directing.
The whole
graphics.
portfolio.
Yeah. If LHSN needs a guy, that's the guy.
Here's the thing, too. You mentioned all those close games. Well, it's been the men's basketball season that has really been the proponent of that. There have been 3 games here in Turner Gymnasium that honestly have come down to the final 20 seconds. We've seen 2 buzzer beaters. And, of course, those are the games where Joe and I have swapped. So I'm down there doing the PA, and I don't know if my voice can take another buzzer beater because it is just, it's so tough. The energy's so high, and then bang. Might have to start talking about compensation if that happens again.
Right.
Might have to be off a few days. Great pass from Letty Michael. Connects the dots to Kate Littlejohn, who was in stride. Hornets still looking smooth with 6 minutes to play.
And there's very few people you say are built for a job, but if I had to pick Joe Brennan and Evan Gates, that would be my broadcast team.
Well, we appreciate it, Kevin. You've been so good as well, and it's been a new year for LHSN. So many new faces involved, and it's just been so much fun. And like you said, heading into the spring season, you got even more sports being involved. It's just a great time to be on campus, and obviously to see some great performances, as we've seen one from the Hornets today. Another pass that was in the right spot, but Emma Jones says no thanks.
I think Bree thought about slamming that one.
She got up a little bit. Definitely one of the taller players, but also one of the more athletic. You might see a few slams on that men's side from Jamarcus Brown, who has a dunk just about every game. Oh, there's another great connection. That's poetic to Letty Michael. 2 on the table, and Brooke Kaysen showing another reason why she can do a little bit of everything on the court for the Hornets.
And you saw a big smile from Coach Nichols there. It's something that you love to see. Up 35 minutes left in the game. Your players are still playing, finding the right passes, the right lanes, doing everything right to continue to build on this lead to show, hey, we still got a little bit of fight going on. We ain't giving up just yet. The buzzer ain't sounded yet.
When you've missed that, those breakaway opportunities, you see Lynchburg breaking the press immediately, getting chances, and Ashley Vandergrift cashes in on another from the short corner. Hornets humming right now, 28-point lead. Now the jumper on the other end, ironing out. Kate Littlejohn surveying options and heckled by Jiggets. So big slew of substitutions on both sides. We'll see if there is a break or if it's just the mass exodus. Looks like we're going to keep on playing. Resetting the lineup, there's Ashley Vandergrift. We've mentioned three-point shooting prowess as really that big point to hammer home for number 14, but battled injury last year. Didn't really start playing until December, and ever since, just in terms of somebody who comes to work every day, who's consistent, Ashley Vandergrift is one of those players you love to have on your team.
Right. Thought right on cue she was about to let another one fly.
Would have been nice for the reel. Have to predict a few of them, as Letty Michael fumbles this pass. We'll see if Vandergrift can chef something up on this possession. Looking to go into the paint. Oh, nice spin move. Downstairs, everything but the bucket.
It's a great move on the offensive end.
Such a great flow as well, because she knew exactly where she wanted to go. This time off the mark, and the jumper from Jones. That one was almost from all the way back in Roanoke, but it's off the mark. Lynchburg heading the other way. Harris passes to Kayla Terry, getting her first minutes of the contest. Letty Michael swishes it home.
No, we'll say for some of the Salem Turnpike rivalries we talk about, we kind of let our audience down not talking about the Highway 29 matchup we got going on. Kind of forgot to
That's right.
That's on me. That's on me.
We got to get our geography down. See, I'm a Roanoke native too, Kevin, and so learning the 29, all the different roads, we're a work in progress.
It's always fun just being able to connect it like that. And with all of these local schools, you know, they play so much in so many different sports. Just those little intricate details that, you know, like you said, you might not know if you're a native, but when you get up here and you start either calling the games, playing the games, what have you, you start to learn some new things about different programs, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, there's only like 76 colleges in Virginia or something like that, because you travel 5 minutes. Quite literally in Lynchburg, you can get down to Randolph or Liberty. So great as a trio of subs enter the contest for the Hornets. Mackenzie Brundage, Allison Booth, and Kayla Sledge. Vandergrift will head to the bench. Some smiles along the way. Hit another three-point jumper. Thought you were going to take that one when we're mentioning the Salem Turnpike rivalry. At least if we're talking about Salem, Virginia, you know, that Roanoke game still fresh in our minds for the men's side. But leading that conversation, it's still so impressive to see some of those schools like Roanoke, a team that hasn't necessarily been ranked in the last few years, get up and flirt with those national rankings this year. Another reason why the ODAC is so strong.
Yeah, it's just whenever you look at the depth in ODAC, and there's so many close games, you look at a roster, you look at a schedule, and it's almost tough to pick winners because one team might be ranked, one team might not be ranked, but you never know in the ODAC because these teams come to play. And don't get it twisted, there's a lot of heated rivalries within the ODAC. There's teams that that Lynchburg wants to beat, there's teams that Averett wants to beat, Roanoke, and the list goes on and on and on. So you can never really take these box scores or standings or predictions or whatever to heart, because these guys and girls in this case, they just want to come out and play.
Always a lot of energy, and like you said, anybody can beat anybody. Just a great league as Sledge will head to the line for two, almost getting the and one. We'll try and update you on some of those scores as we've mentioned around the league. It is still early. 5 o'clock start time. W&L leads Randolph 66-60, so that one has stayed close. That's Randolph's play for K game, but 1:35 to go. The Generals look like they're handling business. We'll have to wait and see what the final is from down the street. Talking about the ODAC as well, I believe our commissioner, Brad Bankston, is in the house. Talking to John Waters, the Lynchburg athletic director. It's on this near side of the court. Not sure if we'll be able to get a camera on that, but two of the great masterminds, always a lot of fun to have them watching games, and we certainly anticipate a great atmosphere for the second game. A reminder that the Lynchburg men's basketball team will take on Randolph at 7:30.
And neither one of us are on the call for that, right?
That's right.
So I can ask you about a prediction.
Oh, okay, that's right. We can break the integrity a little bit. Well, let's say this. Randolph and Lynchburg have seen each other play this season as Terry loses possession. Averett, an easy bucket on the other side. There was a showcase earlier in the season, right? We had Lynchburg, Nazareth, and Randolph, and both the Hornets and the Cats got a stab at Nazareth. It really impressed me to see this Randolph team because they're led by Jordan Phillips McLeod, who is a dominant guard. He can score almost any possession of the game. But this Lynchburg team just has so many options this year, and I feel like they're going to get fired up for Code Red Night. I don't want to make a prediction. I don't want to say that I think they're going to win, because I do think it's going to be another game that comes down to the wire. But the Hornets have played teams well in Turner Gymnasium this season.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. That's one of those rivalries you talk about. I don't think there's a lot of bad blood, but just they're 5 minutes down the road. You might run into them at Walmart. You might run into them when you go get something to eat, and you want those bragging rights to say, hey, we got the better of you this year.
It's not a highly advertised rivalry, and that's a great point, because it doesn't feel like one of those Duke-UNC rivalries where, okay, we want to come at you every single time. But it is a very good contest, especially in the sense that those two teams have had close contests in the past. And on the women's side, it just might happen that those two teams are on a crash course for that 8th spot in the ODAC. That's something that we only have to put as a hypothesis for now. As Taylor Brown, cleanup duties down low, adds 2, and it looks like that is where Lynchburg's going to end up. a dominant display and a very strong first quarter. 26 points in the first 10 minutes of this game, and the Hornets never looked back. They're going to capture this victory and move to 7-12 on the season. But a lot of games ahead where this Hornets squad can try and re-enter the picture. It's the first step to break that 6-game skid and maybe move forward with a chance to continue climbing. A tough game versus WNL on Saturday, but Virginia Wesleyan and EMU to follow. And Kevin, if it's like what we saw from Lynchburg today, the energy is back.
Right, and we've talked about it enough all day, but the season's really just getting started. It's going to get a lot more intense. A lot of action's about to go on. We got a little bit of extra basketball going on here.
That's right, 1.5 seconds. Don't think Coach Nichols would be the most pleased person in the building if somebody fired on that occasion. So finally, final. Hornets 73, Averett 45. And Kevin, you know, I want to hear one more final opinion. We'll get up and out so Joe Brennan and the squad can get ready for this men's game. But you've got a game against WNL, and you know that's such a difficult competition. But to have these games ahead of you where you know you can win, what does Coach Nichols need to instill in this squad to make sure the Hornets are in the right headspace heading down the stretch?
Take care of yourself, physically, mentally. Just don't add on any extra stress that's needed. You know what you got to take. You know what you got to do. Focus on that. We don't need any outside noise coming in. The WNL game, obviously never just want to chalk a game up, but that's not the biggest game in the world. We're not going to get so mad over that. For Lynchburg, beyond that game, that's their season. They've got a 3-game season coming up where everything matters, and that's how they got to approach it. Before we go, let's stop talking ODAC for 1 second.
Ooh,
Super Bowl, what you got?
Let me hear it. Oh, goodness. Well, America's not going to win. We know that one. Eagles and Chiefs are playing for it. Give me Philly. Let's say Saquon Barkley.
I agree. 100% I agree. Saquon, I don't know what the prop is, but 3 or 4 touchdowns. I like it.
We apologize if we just jinxed it. If Kansas City wins on Sunday, don't blame Evan and Kevin in the booth. But on behalf of the entire LHSN squad, it's been such a fun time bringing ODAC women's basketball to you. And once again, National Girls and Women in Sports Day. We are thankful for everybody who continues to bolster this environment and just make it such a great, inviting atmosphere, especially here in Turner Gymnasium. So for our director, Ethan Moratsky, and the entire crew, he is Kevin Nestor. I'm Evan Gates, saying so long from the Hill City.